And regardless of what you think about how he's doing, I mean, well, not regardless, he's doing a bad job, I think.
Yeah, I actually want to ask you about that. Like, what, if you don't mind going into, like, why don't you like Donald Trump? There's a lot of people that like Donald Trump.
There are a lot of people who do like him. I think it's something like 30% is like the solid base of his right now. And I think people like him because he hit on the same type of anti-establishment rhetoric that Barack Obama did. There are people in the Rust Belt, and this is a well-documented phenomena. There are people who voted for Obama twice, in 2008 and 12, who then turned around and voted for Trump. So how do you go from voting for the first black president to voting for another racist president? It's the anti-establishment rhetoric. That's what I think they had in common. And that's why I think people liked Trump. And that's why I was first kind of like, oh, okay, maybe Trump won't be that bad. He has totally reversed course on that anti-establishment stuff. When you look at who he's surrounded himself with, the team he's chosen for himself, it is essentially, the Bush family, neocons like Elliot Abrams. It's people like John Bolton, who was the architect of the Iraq War. So when I say he's doing a bad job, it's not that I even like dislike him that much. It's that he's really brought people back from a place where they should never have been in politics. These are people who are so anti-American at their core. People like John Bolton, who are just open for war at all times, and who, I mean, this is going to get even more controversial, but will protect Israel even over Americans.
Yeah, I have no idea who. Like,
I don't want to get too involved in that right now, but so I kind of do want to get involved.
No,
in that
do
now.
it, man. Like, I think it's. I want to just get this perspective because my perspective that I come from is that coming from more of a like not being too involved in politics. I gotta give it to Trump that he got me more involved in politics.
That is something good I can say about it. There are people who are a lot more interested in going to their city council meetings and talking to their Congress people.
He definitely did that. And also he to me, something that it feels like he did was kind of like, it's like he just, it's like he opened up a new door of pointing out the fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? It's almost like he came in, and because he's like this TV reality guy, and he's kind of like, he's not some like, one thing I was thinking about this earlier actually is I think a reason that people who voted for Donald Trump, maybe people more in like southern states, middle America, or whatever, they like him because he doesn't make them feel like fucking idiots. And people like Hillary and Obama, Hillary
Clinton definitely did.
They can come across as pretentious and almost so egotistical that they think they're better than everyone else.
I can't even imagine how fucking stupid the Hillary Clinton consultants went on her 2016 campaign. There is an anti-establishment fervor in the country, and it's been here. It was evident from Barack Obama's campaign. Barack Obama wiped the floor with Hillary Clinton, not because he's black, but because he said, I'm going to have the most transparent administration in history. I'm going to close Guantanamo Bay. I'm going to end the torture program. And he did none of those things. He expanded the wars. He tortured Chelsea Manning. Edward Snowden is in exile in Russia because of him and his administration. Julian Assange has been in the Ecuadorian embassy, essentially a prisoner for 7 years because of Barack Obama's administration. So that just pushed it to the next level. People didn't like the Iraq War starting in 2004, 6, 5, 6, whatever. People turned against it pretty quick. And so when Barack Obama said, hey, I'm going to close Guantanamo, I'm going to be transparent, people really liked it. And then he gave us 8 years. I mean, he was essentially Bush too. He was just another Bush but he talked nicer to Californians like me, he talked nicer. I guess Texans, maybe they feel different about it. Yeah. But so he was just a complete flip. And I think that really opened the door for any kind of anti-establishment rhetoric, and Donald Trump was one of the only people who would really hit on it. And credit to Steve Bannon. I think he was the one who really recognized that in Trump's campaign, and got him to start using things like "drain the swamp," which he never meant. He admitted I think like after he won that he didn't even know what "drain the swamp" meant. He said it, and people responded well to it. And it reminded me of what Jordan Peterson says about Hitler. Like Hitler he would feel the crowd, right? That's what he says about it. And so you see Trump at these rallies, and he's just saying what his base wants. Yeah. And they're kind of feeding into him and directing him in a way.
Yeah, yeah. So well, that's the perspective.
I forget what your original question was. I was just went into a small rant.
No, that's awesome. Like I love getting that perspective. I didn't know that you're not. It doesn't sound like you're a huge fan of Obama. Like you just
no. And what I wanted to say about Hillary Clinton was that her consultants are so fucking stupid that they didn't hit on the anti-establishment thing. They said, or they didn't want to even go to the people and be like, "Hey, here's what we're gonna do for you." Yeah. They said, "I'm with her. The voters are supposed to be with her. Why is it her turn to be president? Is it just because she's been there for 25 years?" So these corporate Democrats who are trying to say this stuff, if they go against Trump in 2020, they're going to lose just like she did. So people like Joe Biden, who just jumped into the race, there's no fucking way he's going to win. Trump's going to wipe the floor with him. Yeah. He was in the Obama administration too. Like, he's just as much or not just as much, but he's involved. He's a corporatist. He just had his first fundraiser. He announced he raised the most money out of all the Democrats running. And where did he get it? He had his first fundraiser at the lobbyist of like a Comcast lobbyist's house. There were people from just all different types of like health insurance industries and stuff like that. So if Joe Biden wins, I'm going to call it now. If Joe Biden wins, it's the end of net neutrality, and we're not getting Medicare for all. But either way, I don't think we would get there because I think Trump would smash him.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. And that's another point to bring up that I don't know, but I do know from what I've heard people say, and like the feeling is that Donald Trump kind of like, he was like the outsider. He was the underdog, which is another reason why people like him. He wasn't funded by lobbyists, right? Like he kind of just did the fucking thing himself. And I think, like that, I think it's unfortunate. Like I have such a weird perspective of Donald Trump. Like there are times when I just don't know what to think about him. Like when you can't look someone in the eye and talk to them and ask them questions, and then you see shit like there's a video on YouTube of him calling someone who was terminally ill with cancer, and he called this guy and talked to him, and it was like just this insanely sincere conversation that Donald Trump had with this guy who was going to die from cancer. It makes you think like, I have no fucking idea what to think, but I'm not into politics enough to like analyze it from a policy perspective. Like, what are the policies? How's he doing there?
Yeah, but and most people, they do just kind of go off the personality and how they come off and stuff like that.
And it's crazy because there's a part of me that sees Donald Trump and like thinks, man, this guy is like the most narcissistic guy that I've ever, and I never respect that. Like I just, when someone is, that like he seems like he gets offended really easily, and he gets super defensive, and he never takes responsibility.
Honestly, it's so funny to me that conservatives are the ones calling liberals snowflakes, because
Donald Trump is a fucking snowflake.
Donald Trump is a snowflake, and if it's just to be even meaner to conservatives, if you criticize the war, if you criticize the police tactics, if you criticize stuff like that, they get so offended so quick.
It's true.
And it's like, wow, you guys are, you can keep calling me a libtard all you want, but...
No, it's very true. It's very true. And it is true that Donald Trump is a snowflake, like how easily he gets defended or defensive about stuff. But it's just, and then just to push back or to kind of get your opinion, to play devil's advocate or whatever, how is Donald Trump racist? I've never heard him say anything racist.
So... you have to look at the other effects that he's done. So you kind of have to go into the past with him. So he owns apartment buildings, right? And he was accused of encouraging his staff essentially to only allow white people in to his apartments. So they would put a C on people of color's applications so that everyone would know, don't even look at it, basically.
I didn't know that.
So there's that.
That's true? Or is that just an accusation?
That, I don't know all the details about it, so I don't want to be like, I know it. But, you know, I know that was a thing. And then
you have to ask, was that Donald Trump or was that people working under him?
But you have to look at the most powerful person in the organization.
That's what you said.
They set
his
the
responsibility
tone for the whole organization.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And then so there's that. There's the Mexicans are sending us their rapists and stuff. And I get that he meant like they're sending us the gangs and stuff like that.
That's something that I've always wanted to ask someone about who like, you know, I've always wanted to ask someone about that, because when I see people refer to him saying that as that's a racist thing to say, I don't think it's racist to say that. To me, it sounds like it was taken so out of context. To me, it sounds like he was saying more than they're all racist or they're all rapists. It sounded like he was saying, unfortunately, it's shitty for us in America because a lot of them are rapists, right? Like there's a lot of that going on. I don't know. It sounds like is that what he was saying?
I think that was
like the violence,
that's why I think
the
it
gangs,
was,
the like drug cartels, that kind of thing.
To say that, because the people who come over the border, yes, there are, you know, narcos trying to bring drugs to the country, but there are just as many, probably way more, just legitimate refugees from violence who are fleeing our drug war that we exported to their country.
Well, see, that's
and
enlightening.
They're coming to our country, and then we're saying, all right, you know, we're going to separate your family. We're going to take your kids. And the fact that they had that policy is not good. And the fact that they didn't care enough about these people who were fleeing violence in their home countries to keep track of their children means, to me, that you don't view them as human the way you would view like a European person as a human. Because if there was a migrant crisis in Europe and we were getting British people here, would we separate their families? Would we lose track of their children? I don't think there's any fucking way that would happen.
Who knows? I mean, who knows? If it was as often and it was like the same problem with the drugs and violence and stuff, you know, it's just like maybe, Mexico's right here. So it's so easy for that. Like the actual like amount of stuff going on there. But that makes perfect sense. I always think, you know, my perspective on like compassion. Like I think that definitely, maybe the way that I can agree with you is that he did a really fucking shitty job of communicating like what he maybe meant to say or whatever, you know, like it just, he should have, it definitely was not a good way to say it. And then, did he say it purposefully like that because he knew the people would resonate with? You know what I mean? You have to ask that question. Like, was that like purposeful?
I kind of think he does. And I mean, it's like, I don't think
is he smart enough for that?
To like purposefully be racist, but I think that he just doesn't, because this gets into the whole conversation about privilege, right?
Yeah,
like how,
exactly.
Jordan Peterson and all these guys are always like, oh, you know, privilege isn't real or whatever. Or they criticize people who talk about it. But I think privilege is a very real phenomena. And I think a billionaire who inherited hundreds of millions of dollars from his parents is insulated from the world in a way that nobody else is.
It was only $1 million. It was only a small loan of $1 million.
That's actually not true.
Really?
Yeah, Matt Taibbi put out a big article actually, I don't know if it was Matt Taibbi. The New York Times did a big article about his money and his finances. And he's been a lifelong tax avoiding criminal his whole life. And he got a lot of money from his parents. He got a lot of help from them as far as business connections and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And I was listening to an economist talk about him, and he said that if Donald Trump had been given the amount of money that he was given, and instead of going into real estate, he just put it into an ETF, an electronically traded fund, and it just followed the market, he would actually be more wealthy than he is today. So it's kind of off topic about the racism thing, but it just kind of means like, oh, you're kind of a shitty business person.
No, well and that's the other thing too that I think is not good is the like that aspect of not being transparent. You know, like that's not good. Like he said,
Yeah,
he
but I
only
mean,
got,
none of them
you
are
know,
transparent.
right?
So how
Yeah.
am I going to call him out for that? I'd
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to go down the list of people before I got to him.